Now, your host, author, Bible study teacher, and my sweet, salty sister in Christ, Miss Rochelle Burchett.
Happy Easter and welcome to the Salty Sister Radio Show. Tonight we're going to break out of the detours a little bit and talk about the power of empty. But before we do that, we have some announcements.
Yes, Grief Share is going to be Tuesday night at the Southside Free Will Baptist Church. That's at 6:30. And remember, if you don't catch it on Tuesday nights, you can catch it on Thursday nights at the Calvary Church of God. That's there at Depot Road, and that's also at 6:30.
And next we have
It won't reach any further.
That's okay. The PAL meeting is Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the 404 on Main, and that's for parents of addicted loved ones or spouses or anything like that. But it's Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the 404.
Yes, and Ann Ratliff does a wonderful job of leading that.
Yes.
So now we're going to get back into the we really thought a lot about breaking out of the detours because this is a special day. This is a day that has set all of us free.
That's right.
I keep thinking about the song called King of Kings, and there's a verse in the song that says that the angels stood in awe
Mm-hmm.
as the stone was rolled away for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. And I just think, wow, just thinking about that moment, waiting for that stone to be rolled away.
I mean, without Easter, there's no hope. I mean,
Yeah.
the birthday of Jesus is great, but if he never got up, if the tomb had never been empty,
Yeah.
then there is no hope.
No.
We have no hope. But because he did get up and because he lives, you know what? We can face whatever
Yes,
comes.
we
can face
can.
today, tomorrow, any day after that, because we know he lives.
And you know, when you think about the word empty, most people think of something negative.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when my gas light comes on, it
Yeah.
tells me I'm about
Comes
to
on
be
right
empty,
now.
right?
And it costs $100 to fill it up.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Go as long as you can.
You can
right?
guess what I drive.
Okay, can you go on fumes? Like, I know that when it gets to this amount, that I can go this many
50
miles.
more miles.
Which drives my dad and Chris crazy because literally that my dad when there's a little bit of gas, he goes ahead and fills it back up.
You're going to burn that fuel pump up.
Yeah.
That's what my dad says.
Yeah. So thinking about being empty, and you know, when we do get empty, we have to go fill up at the gas station.
Yes, we do.
And so we're going to talk about spiritual fuel tonight.
Mhm.
And the empty means containing nothing, not filled or occupied. And while that sounds hopeless, it is really hope itself.
Exactly.
And I was thinking about, because that tomb was empty, because it was not filled. And today, Pastor Matt was talking about, you know, the purpose of Christmas.
Well, it's because I said Christmas.
The purpose of Easter, you know, his purpose was us.
Exactly.
And when the enemy thought that purpose was dead in that tomb, he already prepared the tomb for purpose. And I love that, how he used that analogy, but purpose came alive. Purpose is here. Purpose conquered.
Mhm.
Purpose is here to bring us through all these things.
Yes.
So I think about when we are empty and when we're going through specific times and trials in our life, sometimes we need to empty ourselves of our flesh.
Absolutely.
Right? Our ugly hearts and misbehaving attitudes, the things that really hold us. So when you think about the last week or the last month even, you may have been full, but what have you been full of?
Mhm.
Have you been full of envy, bitterness, anger, rage, all those things?
Right.
Are you full of the right things?
Exactly.
And I think when we're facing things in our life, we need to empty ourselves of the flesh
Mhm.
so that the Lord can feel what is empty.
That's
Because
why I say fasting is so good, because it literally, I was talking to a guy at church the other night, and it is proven when you go 16 hours without any food, that your brain kicks into this mode to where it begins to think clearer. You begin to comprehend things better. You go into a whole different realm. And it is important. It's important to detox our mind,
yes.
detox our bodies of all of the things that we take in every single day, worldly things.
Yes.
We are in the world, but we are not of the world.
Right.
And that's the thing we've got to remember. You know, we're of a different one. We're of another world to come, and we've got to reconnect spiritually. We've got to align ourselves with Him. And fasting is the greatest way to do. For me personally,
It is.
I just shared with a friend the other day. I don't know what to do. She says, I don't know what to do. I just can't get a grip. I just can't. And I said, you have to take authority over this. And the best way to do that is fast. Every demon in hell will begin to flee when you start fasting, that sacrifice, ridding yourself. being that living sacrifice that He created us to be.
Well,
Empty yourself.
It's giving things up that it's showing the flesh who is in charge.
That's right.
Yeah. So I read this. It says the gift of emptiness is one of the happiest gifts of all, because it moves us beyond our constant worry over rightness and wrongness, of being worthy or being perfect, of deserving merit, of living in that tit for tat world where everything is quid pro quo and all about trade offs. So emptiness kind of delivers us from ourselves and from the situations that we're in.
Yes.
It's hard because when you fill your mind full of things, so we talk about this a lot on the show, whatever has your mind has you.
Has you. That's right.
And think about if you look at what you've been full of lately. Have you made room, or have we filled up so much with worry and strife and all those things that we've not made room for Him to fill us up?
I mean, it's just like trash. I mean, it's just like your trash can. I mean, when it begins to fill up and fill up and fill up, and then it starts overrunning, and you're like, can no one
See this?
just take the trash out?
Yeah.
And we've got to do that. Sometimes we just have to take the trash out. We have taken on way too much.
Yeah.
And it's time to take the garbage out. Take the trash out.
There's nothing like a fresh new bag, but it fills up so quickly.
It really does.
You think about all the garbage. So thinking
And you have to
about
stay on top of it.
you do, and you know John Wesley is one of my favorite because he used to say that set yourself on fire and people will come for miles to watch you burn.
Mhm.
So there's another thing he talks about. It says that when he spoke of moving on to perfection, by which he meant maturity, not flawlessness. He says it takes a lifetime of experience of falling down and getting up again, and of offering our hand and our heart to those who are also in the process of falling and rising, of always looking ahead and never giving up.
Yes.
So it's like
That's
even
great.
when you're down,
Yeah.
lift a hand up.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because you're down that we become so full of everything else. Hopelessness.
Mhm.
And that hopelessness can turn so much into hope
Yeah.
if we empty ourselves.
Exactly. And, you know, no one likes to think about being empty because, like you said, we think of that in a negative way.
Right.
And everybody likes to be on the mountain. Nobody likes to be in the valley. But sometimes that's where we truly grow, is when we are empty, when we are searching and seeking Him
Yes.
and what He can do for us. We've got to rid ourselves of everything, all the selfish things that we try to take on. You know, we've got to say, Lord, empty us. Empty us, Lord, that you may fill us.
You know, when you think about this, we were just talking about this before the show about what kind of eaters we are. Like, I'm a volume eater. Like, I need the whole plate full because then I need to feel about that.
Well,
But
I got to clean the plate too, so it'll be a pretty day tomorrow. I mean, you just have to.
and you were talking about that being a snacker, those kinds of things. But you know, when you get to craving something, sometimes you're not even hungry.
Yeah.
But
You
you're
see
wanting to keep filling
Yes.
yourself up with things that are not necessary.
Right.
And I think about our own spiritual plate and how that life just surrounds us,
Yeah.
parades us to where we're like, we have so much on our plate.
And you know what? Filling ourselves is different for people. Some
Yeah.
people fill themselves with shopping. Some people fill themselves with food, addiction, drugs, whatever it may be. But if it's not of God, it's not going to last, because He says, fill us with Him, and we'll never hunger again. We'll never thirst again when we're full of Him. But it's when we fill ourselves with, like we said, Tony Evans said, empty calories.
Right.
When we fill ourselves with things that will not sustain us, that's when we become hungry and do it again. We've got to fill ourselves with things that will hold us over.
Yeah, and
That's Him. That's Him.
So it's all about what we fuel ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I always say you have to. There is a necessity to be in the Word every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, from listening to it to
Mhm.
reading it to applying it, because when you fill yourself if you fill yourself with a bunch of carbohydrates, you're going to get pretty sleepy. Like, I walked in the living room today, and there was Tyler and my dad with, you know, they were out because of all the wonderful food, the napping. But it's something it does too. It makes you tired. It makes you
does.
sleepy. And we are at a time right now that we cannot afford to be sleepy,
Oh, no.
lethargic, or any of those
Mm-mm.
things. We
No.
have to be
Awake.
laser sharp. And that cutting edge, we
That's right.
have to really pull those things away from
We
ourselves.
do. We have to be alert. We have to be awake. We have got to be ready.
Yes. You know, you're thinking, and you have this bottle here, but thinking about because of something that's empty, it's exciting. But I know people feel emptiness and loneliness a lot. But see, that's an exciting place to be, because that is exactly where God has the opportunity to fill that void with something that He has purposed and planned for us, not what the world has.
Exactly. And I mean, like I said, we need his sustaining stuff, his spiritual food. We need that stuff that's going to sustain us in the hard times, in the rough times,
Yeah.
in the empty times, knowing that yes, we may be empty now, but that's just because God's doing a new thing. He's doing a great thing, and He's going to fill us and fill us and fill us
Yes.
constantly.
Yes. And this, I read this. This was really touching too. But it talked about that there were plenty in the crowd that day that were thinking loser to Jesus, and even Jesus from the cross cried out to God in Mark's gospel, "Why have you forsaken me?" And where was God? Maybe you're feeling that way tonight because of the situation that you're going through, that you can't even find God. But it says Jesus didn't feel God's presence. He felt alone, completely abandoned. And Psalm 22 includes his cry of abandonment and speaks to his emptiness. "I'm poured out like water, and all of my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within my breast. My mouth is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death." And it talked about how that they would stare and gloat over him. Just thinking about that day of crucifixion. And the last statement says this: "As Jesus looked for God, God found Jesus, and crucifixion became not the end of the story, but the beginning of something new."
That's so good.
So it was.
Good.
So when he said, "It is finished,"
Yeah.
it was just beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, the best was yet to come.
Yeah.
And I always go back to that garden
Mm.
when he said, "Remove this cup from me."
Yeah.
We talk about that cup a lot. Sometimes we want to pass the cup.
We sure
We
do.
don't want to drink from that
We
cup.
don't want to deal with what we've got going on. God,
No.
take it away. Take it away. Take me out of it.
Yes.
I just want it to stop.
Yes.
I have said that so many times. I just want it to stop.
Yeah. And then the thing is, he said every time, "Not my will."
Yeah.
So think about the cup that you have right now, and maybe it's full, and maybe you just need to stop and pour it out
Yes.
and receive what God has for you. Drinking from the saucer. We talk about that song that, I'm drinking from the saucer because it overflows.
Yes.
But I feel like we get so, I don't know about you, maybe it's the older you get. I've been saying the older you get, the bolder you get. I'm experiencing that lately. But the older you get too, it's like the more chaotic, more quicker that time goes by.
Exactly.
Or the more things that we're dealing with, and our brain is literally an overdrive.
Yeah.
Taking care of so many things. And this weekend, Tyler said to me, because it was a while, he goes, "They make medicine for this, right?" Because I kept losing it. And as we were driving down the road, the funniest thing happened. My phone fell off the charger, and it hit my knee, which was my reflex. It caused me to hit the gas.
Oh, God.
So when you think about, there's so much going on that we can't even think.
We can't even think. I mean, talking about that, this is just totally off kilter here. On my way to Ashland, I'd already been to Ashland the day before. Wanted to get my mom a shirt and a sweater, something to wear for Easter. Got to get that Easter frock, got to get it all. Got it. Wrong size. Had to run back to Ashland yesterday. So my mom says, "Well, I'm going with you. You're not going by yourself." I said, "Mom, literally driving there, driving back." So she wanted to ride with me, which I'm glad she did. Driving down the road, that road, you can go through the red lights there, but if you want to avoid the red lights,
You go on that.
go on that back road.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're driving down that road. There's a car in one lane, car in another lane. I just put my signal on to go to the right lane just to pass that car, because I'm behind a car. And I'm just driving down through there. And my mom's got this really scared look on her face. I'm like, "Well, what's wrong with her?" And I look, and there's a car parked like right up the road. I thought that was a 3-lane through there. And I kept thinking, "God, when did they make a 3-lane through here?" Mom said, "Yeah, I was wondering the same thing." But I was so busy. And I tell you, that is one of the devil's biggest tactics, is to keep us busy, chasing our tail, running around, not staying focused,
That's
running
right.
around just empty of spiritual food, useless calories, useless stuff that is draining our energy.
And then you get so tired, and then are you really tired of the wrong,
That's right.
Are you
wrong
exhausted
things?
because of what you've let? So you really map out your life, map out your heart and your mind. what the territory that we have allowed the enemy to take.
Yeah,
We need to give him an eviction notice.
that's right. We
and
need
say,
to
I'm
take
sorry.
it back.
There is no vacancy here
That's
anymore.
right.
This is a place where, I made that post the other day about instead of trying to make room for Jesus, give him the room. And then somebody posted on there, give him the whole temple.
That's
Like,
right.
That's right, because this is his.
That's it.
It's like I thought about this on the way over here, how that the body is the temple,
Hmm.
and how God has given us this flesh, this body, this human body, about how that we disengage, or that we really put so much more into it that is not necessary, that was not intended to be.
Yes, I'm looking up scripture right now.
Okay.
And then it affects us in all these negative ways. And then we wonder why we don't feel good, or why we don't, because, you ate a whole bag of Lay's chips, or,
You can't stop at just one.
That's
That's
right.
That's what the
That's
marketing
true.
says. It's just, I guess I've thought about this word empty so much, and thinking about, as Pastor Matt said this morning, about how they were going to the tomb to be there, thinking that Jesus was going to be there, but he was not there.
And so empty was
The
best
greatest
thing
thing.
that
That's,
could have-
can you
yeah.
imagine? So the power of empty, and I guess the power of, if you think about what do you have right now, what are you full of right now, what could you empty out?
Yeah.
Tomorrow's my trash day. So you ever just go clean out a bunch of stuff, and I think they think, what in the world is this woman done? It's not even a holiday.
Go to the
There's all kinds of bags.
refrigerator, everything we're not eating, everything that's left over that no one's heating up anymore. You want to just rid all of that. Why don't we do that spiritually?
Or what about the things that have spiritually expired?
Yes. Yes.
Like Kelsey was trying to get out some butter, and it expired like in 2000 something. It was a long time ago. It's still sitting in my refrigerator. But why is it we want to keep expired things in our lives? Because why? Because we're not taking time to look at the date, that is not a part of us anymore. That is not necessary anymore.
Why do we want to keep going back to the things that God has already taken care of and expired, has closed the case on? Why do we want to keep bringing up those things?
I don't know. Because maybe your refrigerator looks nice.
Those empty tombs. Why do we want to keep bringing up the empty
just go
tombs?
open the door and look at it,
When you actually clean out the refrigerator, it is so empty.
It is. And
it looks so clean.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, why do I ever let it
Why
get
do
like
I
that?
let
Right?
it get junky?
Yeah. So I think I know this is kind of like a ton of stuff we're talking about, but I have just been challenged with that empty this week.
Yeah.
And so excited to know.
I thought about two women in the Bible when we were talking about going to do empty, and I thought about the widow woman. You know how Elisha told her, go borrow pots, not just a few. He said, borrow many.
Mm-hmm.
And, he filled them, and, they closed the door. But I found something interesting right here in the 2 Kings 4 and verse 4. He said, then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil into all the jars, and as each is filled, put it to the side.
Wow.
Listen to that. Put it to the side. So when we're full, God's going to set us to the side.
Yeah.
We don't need that. We don't need to be full of anything but
Amen.
Him.
That's good.
Because who wants to be set to the side? We got to stay empty. We got to stay hungry. We've got to stay that living sacrifice for Him. God, whatever I need to kill today, whatever I need to fast, whatever sacrifice I need to make for you today to get to you and to get your will in my life, that's what I need to do, God. Reveal it.
Yeah.
Show me what I need to do.
What if we worked so diligently to fill ourselves full of Him,
Mm-hmm.
or to allow ourselves as we do other things?
That's right.
What if that was the main focus when we got up? And this is another thing, is this emptiness is another one of those unexpected gifts of the dark wood of endarkment. On first thought, that might seem like a terrible gift, more of a curse than a gift. But the truth is that only when we are empty, only when we have ceased frantically to grab and hold on to, and to share up what we think we have to have, who we think we have to be, can we be filled.
Yeah.
So empty is really a gift.
It is. Yeah.
And so thinking about what you're worried about tomorrow already. What are you already thinking about? How am I going to do this? And I think the three of us that talk all the time, and running to and fro. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I mean, it's true, right? When we're all, from a frantic mess, or sometimes it's really silent on the phones. Like, what are you doing, Salty? Are you alive? Because we're able to pull that to come together. And that's why it's so important. Every single morning, if you can fill yourself with the word. Now, I have to do mine in the morning. Some people can do it at night. I would fall asleep.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the morning, I'm already full of that word.
Mhm.
So it's really hard for all that junk and stuff. But I will tell you, by the end of the day, my spiritual tank is exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm that empty lot again.
Mhm.
And every single morning, you've got to fuel up.
Yeah.
You got to
And,
fuel up.
well, my time
It's
is.
a good analogy.
It
Very
is.
good. Yeah.
It is. My time is when I pick Cooper up because I've got like 30 minutes that I'm sitting in a vehicle with the windows rolled up and I'm just with God. In the mornings, everything's going on. So I can't. But it is important. It is important to fill ourselves up with Him every single day.
In the morning, my thing is like 5 something in the morning
Right.
because the world hasn't started yet. The dogs haven't even wanted to get up yet. That's going to sound, but and I can tell that if it's going to be a really day that I need the word, like the dogs will be. Everything is like trying to help me to fill myself with things the frustration.
So
I
that
get
you're
in the
like, I
flesh
just
before
don't
I
have
read the word.
Yeah,
I'm
like I just don't have time. I've got to, I've got to play or whatever.
And I could not find the leash. Right? So I thought, you know what, he's been doing so good. I'm going to let him go. Don't ever lose the leash. And then I thought about that, about the power of the leash, the power of controlling what we allow. Because you know what he did? He has selective hearing, that new dog does.
Yeah.
And I had to go out in the early morning, put on my husband's flip flops, track out, and then you can see your breath, and I was so afraid. I was in the flesh already before I
those
could get
animals
to the word.
will get you there.
Yes. So thinking about your time, and the time management is the truth. We want God to take time for us. We want Him to be there at every distressful moment. We want all of Him when we want all of Him.
That's right.
But what about thinking about just parking
Mhm.
ourselves or running out of gas just for a moment, and out of cell service?
Yes.
Being in that place where only He can make that divine intervention to do that.
Lord, empty us
Yeah.
every single day that He may fill us.
Yes. Good. Who was the other woman involved?
Oh, my other woman was Mary with the alabaster
yes.
box. Oh, I thought about her in Mark 14, how she broke every religious barrier,
Yes.
everything. I mean, even the disciples. I mean, this was days before the crucifixion, and she walks in that room among all those men, when we know back in that culture that was not acceptable at all. She walks through there. They're angry. They're mad. They're
How much
saying,
was that? Right?
what is she
Yeah.
doing?
How did she pay? Yeah.
Yeah, who does she think she is, walking in here just with her little box and walking through us and passing us? But He said she did a good thing. All of them had followed them. All of them had been with Him. She poured out a year's worth of wages. Are we willing? Are we willing to make that kind of sacrifice? Are we willing to give that extra tithe check, that extra offering? Are we willing to go a little further? Are we willing to do like she did? Pour out the best she had.
So, of course, my brain's working against what you're so thinking about this to add empty a little further. How often are we willing to empty our best out to things of the world?
Yeah.
Instead of emptying out the best, the finest, the most expensive, our gifts out to God.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about that the greatest thing she had, most worthy. Yeah. Are we spending time emptying out the best of us to God, or are we giving the best of us to the world?
Yeah. And the rest of them saw it as just waste.
Yeah.
They were just like
she was
here she has wasted. Yeah. She has wasted this good thing. But He said from this day, she's known in every gospel. She is still talked about today because she sat at His feet. I think about that song, I want to sit at His feet.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay there a while.
Yeah.
I want to feel His heartbeat in mine.
Well,
do we do that? Do we sit at His feet? Do we just sit there?
Or the table. Mine's the table.
Yeah.
He's at the table and He's not at the feet. What do you have, Leah?
Well, just was going to say that commentary on the alabaster box, it said it was the best she had to offer, and she willingly poured it out as an act of worship.
Yes.
So are we pouring out our best to worship Him? Yeah. Or are we busy complaining?
Mm-hmm.
What are we emptying out of our mouth? Mm-hmm. Is it praise or is it complaining like we talked about last week? Yeah. And that takes me to Mary and Martha. Mm-hmm. One was busy working and one was sitting at His feet again, thinking about those intimate moments. Religion has clouded relationship.
Oh, yes.
Religion and man has really torn apart what God came to give so freely, a personal relationship with Him.
With Him.
And thinking about if you treated other relationships the way we treat that relationship sometimes, how strong would
Would
that
they
relationship
last?
be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wonder if we took inventory, if we begin to think about it tonight, and as we wake up in the morning, if we just take inventory of what's taking our time.
Yeah.
What are we giving our time and energy to? Is it really beneficial? What's draining us? What is draining us spiritually? What are we really wasting our time on and taking away from Him? The
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah.
That we're not doing the good thing, the important thing, the needful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, she was the only one that anointed His feet, poured out, sat at His feet,
Yeah.
wiped it with her hair, the tears. I mean, are we really doing that? Are we seeking Him in that kind of depth?
And Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek ye first
The kingdom
of God and His righteousness." So every day we're waking up and saying, "Lord, I'm seeking
Yeah.
after you." Tommy Tina wrote in a book one time, "The God Chasers," and he said, "Have you ever been so close to God that you see the hem of His garment go around turn down the hallway?
Yeah.
Are you chasing Him, or are we waiting for Him to show up?
Yeah.
Are we seeking Him
Yeah.
earnestly?"
Mm-hmm.
When you think about that, I just feel like, inadequate when I think about I need to seek Him more.
Yeah.
And it's hard with everything, but when you think about the power of seeking Him.
Yeah. We're always going to Him, telling Him what we need. I need this, I need that, I need this, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, da 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 da. But do we ever just sit there and say, God,
What do you have for me?
what do you want to give me today?
Yeah.
Rid me of everything I don't need to make room for what I do need.
Yeah, and filling your morning full of the Word and then saying, Lord, help me to pour this out
Yes.
all over people today.
Mm-hmm.
Help me to use all of this. Help me to pour out the good scent, the aroma. They talked about the aroma of the alabaster box
Oh,
and the beauty,
yeah.
the smell of that.
The
It was
smell.
myrrh and
Nard.
Nard.
Yeah, sorry.
Nard.
Okay, so
Very
thinking about
expensive.
that aroma, what aroma?
Mhm.
What are we so full of when
Yeah.
we pass through people? Are we leaving for them to enjoy? Is it a nasty smell, or is it something that people
What's
want?
the scent of our sacrifice?
Yeah, there you go.
That's what we should ask ourselves. What's the scent
Yeah.
of our sacrifice? Can people smell Him on us?
Okay, yes,
When
exactly.
we pass through a room, people ought to be able to smell the goodness and smell Him on
Yeah.
us. I believe that. And, Romans tells us to be a living sacrifice, to be fully at God's disposal, available and willing to obey God in whatever He asks
Yeah.
or commands.
I
We're
love-
here for
yes,
Him.
we are.
We are here
We are
for
His hands
Him.
and feet. We are His ambassadors. We're supposed
That's
to
right.
reflect Him. And I love that hug thing, because if you think about Janet Smith, like if you have been hugged when that woman hugs you,
Yes.
that's people in your life like that.
Yes.
There is something about when she hugs me.
Mhm.
I long for those. And your mom is another one that
Yes.
can hug like that. You've been hugged. You
Yeah.
can feel that, and I love that, because when we interact with people or we touch people or hug people, they should be able to feel that love
Mhm.
ooze right out of us.
I had a friend who always used to say, you can tell a lot about a person by the way they hug you. And that's so true.
Mhm.
And some people just, they just barely hug you. And then there's some people that will
Embrace
fully
you.
embrace you, hug you, and love you.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to be like if we've got the love of God in us.
So that just about wraps it up. And we hope that you are encouraged and thinking about emptying a whole different matter. Do an inventory. Think about what you can empty yourself of that's not necessary. Is it kingdom building? Is
That's right.
all of this building God's kingdom?
Mhm.
Or is it building the world?
Yeah.
Right. And so then asking God to fill you up so
Mhm.
that you can pour yourself out and really keep check on your spiritual tank, because you can never get anywhere on empty.
No, you cannot. What's taking your time? What's
Yeah.
what's your empty calories?
Yeah.
Spiritual calories,
Yes.
not food, because we can work out and be great and skinny, but it profiteth the body little.
Yes. I love how you like that all the time.
Little.
So-
We've got to have the meat of the word.
Yes, we do. And so we hope that you are so challenged by this word empty, and that you're looking at empty. And every time you see an empty bottle, every time you see something empty in the fridge, every time you're anywhere and you see something empty, the trash can, whatever it may be, that you remember and recognize the power of empty and realize that everything that we have that is empty in us, to allow God to fill us to the fullest with Him.
Right. Yes.
Any other words, ladies?
No.
Well, until next week, stay salty.
Have a great week, everyone.